Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk about myself today. So, just as a bit of an introduction to me and the practitioner table, each month I'm going to be running interviews or having interviews with local practitioners in Australia and just talking to them about how they got set up in clinic, the challenges they went through, the successes, what worked for them, their journey. So we're not talking about huge people, we're just talking about people like you and me who have just started up their business and done well with it. And it is a journey, this I've been a practitioner for 12 years, so there are a lot of you that have been in it a lot longer. I've only been full-time the last 5 years, so it took me about 7 years to really get my flow happening in clinic. Some of that had to do with my age. I was really young when I started, and it was, at one hand it gave me the gung-ho to keep going, and yes, this is my career and this is what I'm going to do. And then on the other hand, it was really terrifying because I didn't have anyone I knew who was doing the same thing as me. I just was so unconfident in who I was still. And I had to learn everything at the same time. I think that's why I'm so passionate about this circle and this collaboration, is because I saw what I went through as such an isolated period of my life, and it feels like we're heading into a time now where the world is opening up for practitioners in so many more ways. We're no longer sitting behind a desk all the time. We're being asked to get out there in the world and share our gifts in other ways. So it's confronting, but it's exciting, and it means that we're connecting a lot more. I'm finding the new generations coming through seem to really want to work together and as a collaboration. Whereas when I started, it was quite an one-to-one industry, and even between the practitioners, there wasn't a lot of co-referrals or anything. Everyone seemed to be struggling for clients. So I think as health and natural health grows in the world and in people's consciousness, we have the confidence to then get out there a little bit more. But my journey started, I was straight out of high school and then I studied. And then I went into clinic, and I tell this story a lot. I remember sitting in clinic and I had no idea even how to write a receipt. And I thought, oh shit, I need to learn all the business side of things. There's one part of you that just wants to feel confident in what you're doing as a practitioner. And then you come to the real life stuff, and it's like the whole of the business side comes in afterwards. And when I went through, there was no business training really. There's a little bit more these days, it seems, but the pressure when you come out, I think, is so immense for so many people that it can be really hard to get the first few years going. So I turned up into my little rented space in a local clinic every Saturday for 7 months. And, I remember that time as just like I was slowly whittling away, but at the same time I was really determined. It's like there's always this dichotomy going for me, and I'm not sure if it's the same with you, where you've got this fire burning inside where you're being called and called and called, and you kind of don't have a choice in it. And then there's the other part that just wants to hide and withdraw and beat yourself up for everything. And so the whole journey for me has been this kind of yes, oh no, yes, oh no. So I sat in clinic for 7 months, and what I did during that 7 months was I studied, I talked a lot, and just tried to get myself known to other people. I instinctively knew that, and that has been the one thing that has worked for me every single time, is getting to know other people, getting to know other practitioners, and networking has been a massive part of my growth, because one, it gets you talking about what you do. Two, it puts you in a professional space. So I am a professional. This is what I do. And three, it helps just get you, it gets you meeting new people and gets them connecting to you as a person so that they can refer you because they know you and because, you should go see my friend Emma, because you all get to know each other and you all get to support each other in your businesses. I think when you go out and network in the right groups, you know that you're not alone in the world. And so I put out letters to local practitioners, and I got out of that one woman who has been through the whole journey with me. Her name is Kat, and she runs a website business called Soothed, SOOTHED.com, and she builds websites for natural therapies and or natural therapists. And so she was a key part, all these little things just started to fall into place. And when you start writing a website, you have to start thinking about who you are and what you do and how to describe yourself. And so, that again was another step for me in owning my space as a practitioner. So all of this was kind of happening in the first 7 months, but I still didn't have any clients. And then one day I fell apart. I was sitting in clinic, and I knew that this block had so much to do with fear. And so a friend had recently given me a mantra for fear. Looking back now, I know that it's the Green Tara mantra. I didn't know what it was back then, but I sat on the floor and I felt like I just put all of my fear into the earth. And when I got up from that meditation, and I got my first phone call, it was the most bizarre thing. And I was like, right, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be doing this. And at every point of what am I doing in this journey, I have stopped at some point, sometimes after a freak out, and just felt like it's right to keep going. So that's what I've done. And it's gotten me here, and I'm so glad I am now, because I'm, all these years later, I'm in such a creative space and I get to be a bit more free with what I'm doing, and I get to really explore all these different areas. But it has been a long journey of setting those foundations and really, really committing to this path as a practitioner. I was never in the position where I could rely on another way of living, really. For me, this is always just this is what I'm doing with my life, and this is my commitment, and this is my career. And maybe being in areas, I am quite career focused. But I just felt like I never had a choice, hence the coming out of high school and straight into this profession where I had no idea about energy. I had no idea about people or anything, and I chucked myself into this self-development world. But it just felt right. And I know that you're all feeling like that. And, there's been different parts of my story and my journey where I've supplemented my income with other jobs, particularly for that first 7 years. I was in and out of different jobs, meanwhile trying to focus and grow my business. And that's what I mean about that shadow and that light, the yin and the yang. I was moving forward with my business, but I was also, dealing with having to survive financially and having to create, how do you put it? It was like I had to create a space where I could deal with all of my insecurities and learn along the way. And then also I was winning and putting myself out there a little bit more. So it was like this constant putting myself out, withdrawing, putting myself out and withdrawing. And it's been a really big learning along the way. So what I've learnt is that it takes time. It takes time. Just keep going. You're being guided. That has been my big one. To do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. And if sometimes you have to withdraw and move back from clinic in order to focus on family or focus on finances or focus on health or relationships, then withdraw for a bit, but then come back to it. At each point I've been asked to move forward, I've taken the leap, and it has been scary, and I've learned things, and it hasn't been perfect, but it's been wonderful. It's been really, really wonderful, and I might not know where it's going at the time, but I'm jumping in. And I've really learned to trust that. Today I've got a teen workshop, which I'm starting to hold once a week, and it's just going to be a drop-in class for teenagers who can't get to school. And it just came to me one day. I had it booked that afternoon. I've put it out there. I have no idea how many kids are coming, but I've learned to trust the process, so I'm going with it. I started running workshops about 4 or 5 years into business, or maybe it was earlier, 3-4 years into business. I did it with a friend. We had no idea what we were doing, but it was fun and it was interesting, and we learnt so much, and you look back and you go, oh, do a few parts of it. But it was really exciting to just follow your passion and trust and go with that. And I see that in so many people. They kind of get to this space of launch and go, but they hold themselves back because they don't feel like they know everything. And that's the imposter syndrome. We all get it. I still get it. You don't know what you're doing all the time. And I think that's been the advantage of growing my business in my 20s. I'm a little bit more gung-ho. I can afford to have some failures and, screw up along the way. But nothing's ever been a complete failure. It may, I had a clinic. I started that up in 2011, 10 or 11. And I had kind of felt like my end was coming with a local business. I was in a practitioner space, and my partner said to me, let's open up this other clinic. And I was like, you're crazy. And then I sat with it, and I got this vision, and I came home, and he had this space up on the web browser, and he said, I think we should go for it. And I said, right, let's do it. And it was the most beautiful space. It held workshops. And I felt that was the moment I really stepped into the professionalism, because I had to. I had to really own the space and who I was, but also I had the space to back it up. It felt so right when I walked in there, and I felt really proud of it. And so I started trying to build this clinic, and it helped me in my business. I got a lot busier doing that because I was stepping into the space. I was pushing myself out of my comfort zones a little bit more. I was talking about my business a lot more to a lot more people. And then on the other hand, I was trying to pull in practitioners to help me on the days that I wasn't there, to help the rent, to help all of the other side of things. And I couldn't find practitioners who were committed to their businesses. It was really difficult to find ones that would do the work themselves, who were going to say, yes, I'm ready to be a practitioner, and to commit to it. And that's when I started to learn that, this world is really hard in business, and we don't get an apprenticeship, and we don't get all the emotional support behind us. But that's, again, why I've always had this idea of the practitioner table in my head. And so, after a time, I could no longer support that space myself. I had Kobe, my firstborn, and so I couldn't be there as much. And then I couldn't find practitioners to hold the space. So I let that go and withdrew into a really small little space at the back of a chiropractic clinic. And so I'd gone from this big, beautiful, open professional space in a corporate building to, this tiny little room at the back of a chiro, so I didn't even have a proper reception desk to. So on the outside, it looked like and I definitely went through this time where I thought I'd failed, but that was the best decision I ever made, was to step into that space and then withdraw when I needed to again. And it was at that point when I was at the chiropractic that everything switched around and I went full-time, crazy busy. And I really feel like it was because all that pressure was off, but also because I had previously stepped into that open space, of I can do this, this is my career, this is what I'm moving towards. So that the commitment was fully there. But I also trusted when it was time to let go. So there was that sense of failure around it, but it wasn't really a failure looking back. And I had this moment when I was letting go of the clinic, and I walked in and everything had been cleared out, and I really just knew this is just a space. But who I was walking out of that space was a completely different person than went in a few years ago, or a few years before. So there's this roller coaster that comes with setting up clinic, where you come out of your shell and then, things change along the way. And if we expect things to just keep succeeding, if we expect ourselves to just keep pushing outward, we end up in burnout and we end up struggling with ourselves and the flow of things. There's a summer and a winter to everything. And so, what I'm really trying to say is trust yourself, own your professionalism. We are qualified practitioners. There's a reason why I've called this the practitioner table. We're not just coaches, and we haven't done just small courses. We've got, we've done years and years of study, and this is what we're here for. And we've got so much knowledge and so much wisdom. And it's challenging sometimes to know how to put that out into the world all the time, but know that you're not alone, and know that we are here now and we're in here for the long haul. So I really lost my train of thought of where I'm going, but this is again another part of it all. What else do you guys want to know about? I would love you to comment on this video and just let me know what more you want me to share about my journey, and where you're going in your journey. I'd love to know where all of you are at and what you're struggling with. And this is what the collective is for. It's to share all of this. And again, there's so much change there in the external world with, where this industry is going, as far as healthcare goes. But on the ground level, I don't really feel like that. I feel like there's a lot of people still willing to open up to taking more empowerment over their own health. And I think we are living in a really exciting time. So I really feel like don't worry about what's going on in that whole healthcare system, because it's the ground level that's going to keep things rolling anyway. So don't hide yourself. Keep going. Get into your professional space. Commit to it. Don't get wishy-washy. And just take step by step and do what you have to do to make this work long term. But thank you guys again so much for joining me in the collective. I'm really excited to see where this is all going, and I'll keep uploading more and more content. And again, it's always an open conversation, so please keep commenting, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.